My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. The realtor's voice crackled through the speaker. "There's something in there. You need to see this in person." I'd been staring at the property deed for 20 minutes. A cabin in upstate New York, inherited from my great-uncle Frank, a man I'd met maybe twice in my entire life. The assessed value was $42,000. The property taxes were already 3 months overdue, but it was mine. Free and clear. Or so I thought. That was 3 days ago. Right now, I'm standing in the driveway of my apartment in Yonkers, staring at the keys in my palm like they're radioactive. My wife Ashley appears in the doorway behind me, coffee mug in hand, still in her bathrobe even though it's past 9 in the morning. "You're really going out there?" she asks, not looking up from her phone. "Yeah, I told you." The realtor said. I know what she said. "It's a 2-hour drive, it's cold, the place is falling apart." She finally glances at me. "Why not just sell it as is? Get whatever you can and move on?" That's Ashley, direct, practical. I married her 10 years ago because she was the only person who ever made me feel like I wasn't wasting my life. Back then, I was working retail at Best Buy, living paycheck to paycheck, and she was this sharp-eyed HR coordinator at a mid-size insurance firm. She believed in 5-year plans and 401k matching. She believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. "I want to see it first," I tell her. She shrugs and disappears back inside. I follow her in. The apartment smells like the coffee she's been nursing, and the lavender plug-in air freshener we keep in the bathroom. It's a decent place. 2 bedrooms, updated kitchen, a living room that gets good afternoon light. We've been here for 5 years now. I'm 43. Ashley's 41. We have a mortgage at 3.8%, a credit score above 750, and no major debts. We go to the gym 3 times a week. We have dinner with her parents on the last Sunday of every month. We're stable. We're also, if I'm being honest, a little bored. "I'll be back by dinner," I say, grabbing my jacket. "Don't promise that. You always underestimate drive time." She's back on the couch, scrolling. "Text me when you get there. And seriously, Michael, be careful. Old buildings have asbestos, mold. You don't want to breathe that stuff in." That's another thing about Ashley. She worries. Not dramatically. But she keeps a running mental catalog of risks and catastrophes. It's actually one of the reasons our life works. One of us has to be thinking about what could go wrong. I kiss the top of her head. "Love you." "Love you too. Drive safe." I-87 North is clear for the first hour. I'm in my 2019 Honda Accord, which we paid off 2 years ago, and I've got a podcast playing about a true crime case I've already heard twice. The landscape changes gradually. The strip malls and chain restaurants give way to forests, and the sky opens up. It's November, so everything is brown and bare. But there's something about it that feels clean, honest. My phone pings. A text from my boss, Derek, at the firm. Derek and I have worked together for 8 years at Henderson and Associates, a mid-sized accounting practice. I'm senior accountant now. Decent salary, health insurance, a corner desk facing the window. Derek texts in all caps, even for small things. "Leaving early. Didn't see time off request." I text back, "Personal day. Sorry. Should have asked." 3 hours later, he writes, "Fine. Monday morning early. We have the Patterson audit." That's Derek. "No please, no thank you, just transactions." But he pays well, and the work is honest. Numbers don't lie. I've built my entire adult life on that principle, that if you keep your books clean, pay your taxes, show up on time, and don't make excuses, things work out. Life becomes manageable, predictable, safe. The GPS takes me off the highway around 1 o'clock onto smaller roads that wind through the Catskills. The cabin is in a town called Millbrook, population 3,200, according to a sign I pass. Main Street has a diner, a hardware store, an antique shop, and a real estate office. I pull over and call the realtor, Karen, to let her know I'm close. "Great, great," she says, and I can hear the enthusiasm in her voice now. "Take Route 14 north for about 3 miles. You'll see a mailbox with Ashworth on it. Turn left there onto the old logging road. The cabin's about a quarter-mile in. It's a little rough to get to, but... She pauses. Michael, there is something I need to prepare you for. What do you mean? Just, when you see it, try not to panic, okay? The exterior is in rough shape. We're talking foundation issues, roof damage, the whole 9 yards. But the bones are solid. It's a real structure. And what's inside? Well, you'll understand once you're there. Karen, what's inside? I don't want to spoil it. Just go look and call me after. She hangs up before I can push further. The logging road is barely wide enough for my car, and the suspension takes a beating from the ruts. Branches scrape the sides. I'm starting to wonder if this was a mistake, if I should have just called a contractor to assess the place remotely and saved myself the trip. When the trees open up and I see it. The cabin is smaller than I expected, maybe 1,200 square feet, all weathered wood and a sagging porch. The roof has multiple patches of missing shingles. One of the front windows is boarded up. The foundation is crumbling in places, and there's moss growing up the north-facing wall. It looks like the kind of place that should be condemned, not inherited. But the moment I step out of the car, I feel something pull at me. Something I can't explain. Maybe it's the silence, or the way the light filters through the trees, or just the sheer improbability of owning something real, something solid, even if it's falling apart. I fumble with the key. It's old, brass, ornate, and the lock is stiff. But it turns. The door creaks open. The first thing that hits me is the smell. Dust. Old wood. Something else I can't place. The interior is dim because of the boarded window, but as my eyes adjust, I start to see the layout. A main room that serves as kitchen and living space. A stone fireplace on the far wall. 2 doorways leading off. Bedrooms, probably. The furniture is minimal and ancient. A wooden table, a rocking chair, a bookshelf that's empty except for dust and dead spiders. I move deeper inside, and that's when I notice it. Something in the corner, hidden partially by shadow. It's a box. An old metal strongbox, maybe 2 feet long, 1 foot wide, painted green and covered in rust. It's sitting on a shelf that's built into the wall, right next to the fireplace. The kind of thing you'd expect to find in a house this old, probably full of nothing. Old insurance documents, maybe a few photographs. But there's a note next to it. Handwritten, on cream-colored paper that's yellowed with age. I pick it up, and my pulse quickens for reasons I don't understand. The handwriting is shaky, old-person handwriting, but deliberate. To Michael. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Don't open this box alone. Don't tell anyone about it yet, not even your wife. Take it somewhere safe and open it when you're ready to know the truth. The truth about your family, about the money, about why I left this place to you instead of anyone else. Uncle Frank. My mouth goes dry. My hands start shaking again. Because I know, in that moment, that my stable, predictable, manageable life is about to change in ways I can't control. And standing there in that falling-apart cabin in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by dust and silence, I'm not sure if that's the best thing or the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I stand there in the half-dark of that cabin, the note trembling in my hands, and for a solid minute, I can't breathe properly. My chest is tight. There's a ringing in my ears. Don't tell anyone about it yet, not even your wife. Those words hit different. Ashley and I don't keep secrets. We have a shared Google Calendar. We use the same password manager. Last year, when she got a text from an ex-boyfriend saying he was in town, she showed me immediately. That's how we operate, transparent, safe. But Uncle Frank, dead for 3 months, according to the email Karen had sent, was telling me to hide this, to hide it specifically from Ashley. I pick up the metal box. It's heavier than I expected, maybe 15, 20 pounds. The rust is thick on the edges, but the hinges look solid. There's a keyhole, but no key attached to the note. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I almost jump. It's Ashley. A text. How bad is it? I don't respond right away. I just stand there, box in one hand, note in the other, while the November light slants through the gaps in the boarded window. Outside, the wind picks up. I can hear it in the trees. Finally, I type back. Worse than I thought. Might take longer to look around. Don't wait dinner for me. 3 dots appear immediately. Then, be safe. Call me if you need anything. I pocket my phone and sit down on the wooden chair near the fireplace. It creaks under my weight, but holds. The box goes on my lap. The thing about keeping a secret from your wife is that it changes how you sit in your own marriage. Even before you do anything wrong, you're already wrong. You're already the guy who's lying. I tell myself this is temporary. I'll open the box tonight, figure out what Frank was talking about, and then I'll explain everything to Ashley. There's probably a simple explanation, a deed to the property, maybe some cash, old money he wanted to pass down without complications, tax reasons or something. But in my gut, I know that's not true. I drive back to Yonkers with the box on the passenger seat, and the whole drive I keep glancing at it like it's going to explode. My hands are clammy on the steering wheel. I miss my exit once and have to loop back around, which costs me 20 minutes and my patience. By the time I pull into our apartment complex, it's almost 8. The sun is already gone. I park in our assigned spot, grab the box, and carry it inside like it's full of dynamite. Ashley is in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove. Chicken piccata, probably. That's her Friday thing. She glances up when I come in. You look terrible, she says. Long drive? Did you eat anything? Not really. She turns down the heat and comes over. She's changed into jeans and a sweater. She smells like her usual perfume, something light, expensive, that I've been buying her for 10 years. She kisses me on the cheek. Dinner's almost ready. Sit, you need wine. I'm going to take a shower first, I say quickly. I feel gross. You have time. Sit for a minute. But I don't sit. I move past her, the box still in my hands, and I can feel her watching me. I can feel the question forming in her mind. What's that? She asks. Something from the cabin. I'll explain after dinner. I don't wait for her response. I head straight to the bedroom, close the door, and slide the box under the bed. My heart is hammering like I've just committed a crime. The shower is hot and long, and I stand under it for probably 15 minutes, letting the water run over my face. I keep seeing Frank's handwriting. Don't tell anyone about it yet, not even your wife. Why would he say that? Why would he make that distinction? When I come back out, Ashley has set the table. There's a bottle of Pinot Grigio open, and she's poured 2 glasses. The chicken piccata smells good. The apartment is warm and normal, and everything it should be. But I can't unsee the box under my bed. We eat, and I try to be present. I ask her about her day at the insurance firm. She tells me about a compliance issue with one of their vendors. I nod and make appropriate sounds. But part of my brain is elsewhere. Part of my brain is trying to figure out what's in that box, and why Frank thought I needed to keep it hidden. You're distracted, Ashley says, not unkindly. Just tired. You should have waited until tomorrow. Driven up in daylight, looked at the place with fresh eyes. Yeah, you're right. The cabin's probably not worth the hassle anyway. If the foundation is bad, the whole thing could be a money pit. We should talk to a contractor, get an estimate on repairs versus tear-down value. Then we can make a decision based on actual numbers. There's the Ashley I married. Everything reduced to costs and benefits. Risk assessment. It's usually comforting. Tonight it feels suffocating. Let me sleep on it, I say. Of course, but don't wait too long. The market's decent right now, and the longer you hold, the more decay happens. Every month you're losing value. After dinner, I help her clear the table, load the dishwasher, wipe down the counters. I'm playing the role of normal Michael perfectly. And then, around 10, Ashley says she's tired and heads to bed. I wait 30 minutes. I wait until I hear her breathing deepen, until I'm sure she's asleep. Then, I carefully pull the box out from under the bed. I sit on the edge of the mattress with it in my lap, and I try the lid. It's locked, like I thought. No key attached to Frank's note. I could go to the hardware store tomorrow, have them pick the lock. Or I could just break it open. but something in me wants to do this right. If Frank went to the trouble of securing this box, of writing a note, of leaving it specifically for me, then he wanted me to open it a certain way. I think about the cabin, about the stone fireplace, about how Frank had lived out there for decades. I realize now I don't actually know how long, or what he did, or why he was estranged from the rest of the family. I Google him. Just Frank Ashworth, Cabin, New York. Nothing comes up except a death notice in some local obituary site. Frank Ashworth, 78, passed away September 15th. He was preceded in death by his wife Margaret, his daughter Catherine. He is survived by various distant relatives. His wife. His daughter. I didn't know he had a daughter. That's when I realized how little I actually knew about Frank. How little anyone in our family probably knew. I placed the box carefully back under the bed and lie next to Ashley in the dark, listening to her sleep, feeling like I'm betraying her with every breath. By morning, I've made a decision. I'm going to find out how to open this box, and I'm going to do it alone. And then I'm going to figure out whether what's inside needs to stay secret or whether it needs to come clean. What I don't know yet is that by Monday, everything will fall apart. That by next Friday, I'll be sitting in a lawyer's office. That Ashley will be standing in our living room with tears streaming down her face, asking me questions I can't answer, all because of a box and a note and an old man's final wish. But that's not the worst part. The worst part comes later. Monday morning, I'm sitting across from a lawyer named David Chen in a downtown Yonkers office, and the box is on the desk between us. I haven't told Ashley yet. I haven't opened it. But I've done something worse. I've done exactly what Frank told me not to do. I've told someone about it. David is a divorce attorney. That's what made me finally crack. Sunday night, I was lying awake next to Ashley, and I realized that if I didn't get professional help understanding what was in that box, I was going to destroy my marriage over nothing. So Monday morning, before work, before telling Ashley anything, I called David. Said it was urgent. He fit me in at 7:30 a.m. You're telling me you don't know what's in here? David is examining the strongbox without touching it. His reading glasses slipped down his nose. No, it's locked. And Frank, my great-uncle, he left a note saying not to open it alone, not to tell anyone. But then I realized if I kept it secret from Ashley, that was worse. Michael, slow down. David leans back in his chair. He's maybe 55, with gray at the temples, and the kind of calm that comes from seeing every possible disaster. First, we need to open it. Do you have a locksmith? Not yet. I know a guy. He owes me a favor. He can be here in an hour, and he's discreet. But before he arrives, I need to ask you something. Do you have any reason to believe this box contains evidence of a crime? Anything illegal? No? I don't know. That's the whole problem. Okay. Then we open it, we see what's inside, and then we figure out what you owe Ashley in terms of transparency. Fair? I nod. The locksmith shows up at 8:45. His name is Ray, and he's a small man with thick forearms and a tool belt that jingles when he walks. He looks at the box for about 30 seconds and says, 15 minutes. It takes him 9. The lock is old, and it gives way without much resistance. Ray packs up. David gives him an envelope of cash, and then we're alone again. David slides the box toward me. You want to open it, or you want me to? I'll do it. My hands are shaking as I lift the lid. Inside there are documents, a lot of them, photographs and cash. Real cash. Stacks of it, wrapped in paper bands that have turned yellow with age. Jesus, David whispers. The photographs are black and white, old, maybe from the 60s. They show a woman, young, beautiful, with dark hair and a serious expression. In some of the photos, she's with a man in a suit. In others, she's alone. There's a date written on the back of one, June 1962. The documents are a mix of things: birth certificates, a marriage license, a deed to a property in Maine, and letters. Dozens of them, in the same shaky handwriting as Frank's note to me. I start reading one. It's dated 1998. Dear Michael, if you're old enough to read this, I'm writing to you because you're the only one I trust with this. Your father doesn't know. Your mother doesn't know. No one in our family knows the truth about what happened to my daughter Catherine and about where this money came from. I've spent 45 years keeping this secret, and I can't carry it anymore. But I also can't tell you in person. I'm too much of a coward for that. So I'm telling you in writing, and I'm hoping that by the time you find this, you'll be old enough to understand. Keep reading, David says quietly. I pick up another letter. This one is dated 2001. Catherine was my daughter with a woman I loved very much. Her name was Margaret. We met in 1959, and we fell in love immediately. But Margaret was married. Her husband was a violent man, a drunk, and she couldn't leave him because of the times, because she was afraid of what he'd do, to her, to me, to Catherine. So we had Catherine in secret. She was born in 1962. Margaret told her husband the baby was his. He believed her. But Margaret and we arranged things. I bought property in Maine under a false name. I was going to help her escape, but then the letter cuts off. I flip to the next one. It's been 2 weeks since the funeral. I can't write about it yet. I can't. Margaret is gone. Catherine is gone. They died in an accident that wasn't an accident, and I know who caused it, and I can't do anything about it, because if I speak up, I'll destroy my own family. Frank Sr. will lose his business. The scandal will kill my mother. And the man responsible, Margaret's husband, he'll just deny everything. So I'm going to do the only thing I can do. I'm going to take the insurance money from Margaret's policy and Catherine's policy, and I'm going to hide it. I'm going to let people think I just withdrew from life. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until I have proof, real proof. My vision is blurring. I set the letters down. What year did Margaret and Catherine die? David asks. It doesn't say. Not in these letters. I dig deeper into the box. There's a newspaper clipping. It's yellowed, from 1978. The headline reads, Car accident claims 2 lives in Portland, Maine. Woman and child killed in suspected brake failure. Below the headline, there's a photo. The car is wrapped around a tree. The woman in the car is Margaret. The child is Catherine. And in the article, there's a name. The owner of the car was listed as being maintained by Margaret's husband, Robert Ashworth. I know that name, not from Frank, from my mother. Robert Ashworth was my grandfather. He died in 1995. Michael, David's voice is very quiet. I need you to tell me exactly who your grandfather was. I look at David, and I feel the ground shift under me. He was a businessman, real estate mostly. My mother adored him. When I was a kid, she told me stories about how smart he was, how successful. She said he built the family's wealth from nothing. David nods slowly. And your great-uncle Frank? He was Robert's brother? I think so. I don't actually know the family tree that well. Okay. Here's what I think happened. Your great-uncle Frank's lover had a daughter with him. Frank's brother, your grandfather, found out. Maybe he found out because his wife wasn't actually the mother, or maybe he found out some other way. But he found out, and he killed both of them. Made it look like an accident. And Frank spent his entire life knowing what Robert did, unable to prove it, unable to tell anyone without destroying the family reputation and the family business. The room is spinning. He left this to you, David continues, because you're the first person in the next generation with enough distance from the original crime. Your father was Robert's son. Your mother was Robert's daughter-in-law. But you're just the grandson. You have room to do something about this. Do what? My voice sounds like it's coming from underwater. My grandfather is dead. Frank is dead. Margaret and Catherine have been dead for 45 years. What am I supposed to do? That, David says, is what we need to figure out. But first, you need to tell your wife. I don't go to work. I call Derek and tell him I have a family emergency. He doesn't push. I go home to my apartment, and I find Ashley in the kitchen making a protein smoothie for lunch. She takes one look at my face, and the smoothie goes into the sink. What happened? She asks. So I tell her. I tell her about the cabin, the box, the letters, the photographs. I lay it all out, and with each word, I watch her expression change. From concern to confusion, to horror, to something I can't name. When I finish, she's sitting on the couch, and I'm sitting on the opposite end, and there's a canyon between us. "You found this on Friday," she says slowly. "And you didn't tell me." "I know," Frank said. "I don't care what Frank said. Michael, I'm your wife. I'm the person you're supposed to trust. And you kept this secret. You went to a lawyer before you went to me." "Because I was afraid," I say. And it's the truest thing I've said in days. Nah, I was afraid of what it would mean. I was afraid of what I'd have to do. I was afraid that telling you would make it real. It is real. It's already real. It's been real for 45 years. She stands up and walks to the window. "So what now? Are you going to the police?" "I don't know," David said. "I don't care what David said. What do you want to do?" And that's the question I can't answer, because the truth is, I don't know what I want. I want my grandfather not to be a murderer. I want Frank to still be alive so I can ask him questions. I want to go back to last Friday and never drive to that cabin. I want to live in my safe, stable, predictable life, where the worst thing that happens is Derek sending an all-caps email. But I can't have any of that. I'm going to find out if there's proof, I say. Real proof, not just letters and insurance documents. If Frank spent 45 years collecting evidence, there has to be more. And then? And then I'm going to decide what to do with it. Over the next 2 weeks, I do something I never thought I'd do. I hire a private investigator. His name is Marcus Webb, and he's a former state police detective who now does freelance work. David recommended him. Marcus is expensive, $500 a day plus expenses, but he doesn't ask a lot of questions, and he knows how to find records that aren't easy to find. He starts with the accident report from 1978. There is one, filed in Portland, Maine. He gets a copy. The official conclusion: brake failure. No evidence of foul play. But Marcus doesn't stop there. He pulls maintenance records from the garage that serviced the car. And he finds something interesting. The day before the accident, the car was serviced. The mechanic who serviced it was a man named Donald Farley. And according to the records, Donald Farley was paid a large sum of money by Robert Ashworth just 2 days after the accident. It's not a smoking gun, but it's smoke. Marcus keeps digging. He finds an old police report from 1977, a year before the accident, documenting a domestic violence call at Margaret's address. The report says Margaret told police her husband had struck her. The officer's notes suggest Robert threatened the officer when he arrived. And then there are hospital records. Margaret had broken ribs that same week. The hospital documented her injuries, but the case was dropped. No charges filed. When Marcus brings me all of this, we're sitting in his office in downtown Yonkers, and he slides a folder across his desk. "Here's what I think," Marcus says. "Your grandfather was abusive. Your great-uncle's lover tried to leave him, or maybe she threatened to expose the affair. Your grandfather killed her and the child to tie up loose ends. He probably paid off the mechanic and the police. It was 1978. It was easier then. Can we prove it?" I ask. "Not enough for a criminal prosecution. The mechanic is dead. Died in 1995. The officer who filed the domestic violence report is retired and living in Florida. The car is long gone. The evidence is circumstantial." "So there's nothing we can do?" Marcus leans back in his chair. "There's always something you can do. The question is whether you want to." I think about that for a long time. I think about my mother, who loved her father, who spoke about him with pride. I think about my father, who inherited his father's money and his father's reputation. I think about the family business, which is still running, still profitable, still clean on the surface. And I think about Catherine and Margaret, who have been dead for 45 years, and whose deaths were never really investigated, never really mourned, never really acknowledged. I call a journalist. Her name is Lisa Hartley, and she works for the New York Times. She specializes in cold cases and historical crimes. I send her everything: the letters, the photographs, the documents, the investigator's report. I ask her if it's a story. She calls me back 48 hours later. It's a story, she says. Not because we can prove your grandfather killed anyone, but because it's a story about secrets, about inherited wealth, about how families protect themselves. It's a story about a man who spent 45 years in exile because he couldn't expose his brother's crime. And it's a story about you, Michael, deciding to expose it anyway. The article runs 3 weeks later. The Ashworth Secret, Wealth Built on Silence and Suspected Murder, is on the front page of the Times Sunday magazine. It details everything: the affair, the accident, the insurance payoff, the maintenance records, the domestic violence report. It names my grandfather. It names my family. Within hours, my phone is ringing. My mother calls, crying, asking how I could do this to the family. My father calls, angry, saying he's consulting with lawyers about defamation. My boss Derek calls, saying the firm is getting calls from clients asking if they should find new accountants. Ashley holds my hand through it all. We don't sleep that night. We just sit on the couch, watching my family implode on Twitter and in the comments section of the Times website. By morning, I've lost my job. By the afternoon, my mother has told me not to contact her again. By evening, the police have reopened the investigation into Margaret's and Catherine's deaths. Even though it's cold, even though it's been 45 years, even though my grandfather is dead, the case will never be prosecuted. But it will be documented. It will be official. The truth will be on record. A week later, I'm sitting in David Chen's office again, and he's showing me something. A letter addressed to me, dated 2003. It's from Frank. I found this in a safe deposit box, David says. Frank apparently rented it and left instructions that it should go to you if anything ever happened to him. I just got the notification that he passed away. The bank had been holding this. I open the letter with shaking hands. Michael, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, and you've probably already opened the box. You've probably already figured out what I couldn't say out loud. I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for leaving it to you to fix what I couldn't fix. I'm sorry for being a coward, but I also want you to know that I'm proud of you. Whatever you've decided to do, I know you did it for the right reasons. Catherine deserves to be remembered. Margaret deserves to be mourned. And you deserve to know that you're a better man than your grandfather ever was. Live well. Live honestly. That's all I'm asking. Uncle Frank. I fold the letter and I cry. Not because of my family, not because of my job, but because Frank finally got to say something true out loud, even if it was only to me and only after he was dead. 6 months later, I'm working as a freelance accountant, building my own small practice from our apartment. Ashley is still at her insurance firm, but she's also started a consulting business on the side. We're making less money than we used to, but we're making it together, and we're making it honestly. The Ashworth family business was sold. My parents are estranged from me, but they're alive, and maybe someday that will change. The investigation into the 1978 accident concluded that while there was enough circumstantial evidence to suggest foul play, there wasn't enough to bring any charges. The mechanic was dead, the statute of limitations had passed, and the evidence was 45 years old. But the truth is out, and sometimes that's enough. I still have the box. It sits on a shelf in my home office, next to the letters from Frank. Every so often, I take out the photographs of Catherine and Margaret, and I look at them, and I remember that they existed, that they mattered, that someone loved them enough to carry their memory for 45 years, alone, in a cabin in the woods. That's the real inheritance Frank left me. Not the money. There was about $200,000 in that box, which I donated to a domestic violence shelter. Not the proof of what my grandfather did, but the knowledge that sometimes the most important thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it costs you everything. Especially then.